Well, Bryce, I think in this case, and if our guest behind the scenes, if he's ready, just give me a thumbs up. Perfect. Well, Bryce, I thought it'd be really fitting if, since you just had him voted into the Hall of Pretty Good, we'd bring on now a member of the Hall of Pretty Good Inner Circle and former Baltimore Oriole, Darren O'Day. Darren.
Hey, guys.
So, Darren, I appreciate you taking time, and I'll make the introductions here. So, Bryce is the commissioner of the MLB Hall of Pretty Good, and Darren O'Day is Darren O'Day, played forever, and one of the best relievers during the time. So, Darren, meet Bryce. Bryce, meet Darren.
Hey, Bryce. What's up, bud?
I'm speechless. I had no idea. It's a pleasure to talk to you, man. I loved you for so long, especially on the Orioles. Like, this is an amazing moment for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do I need to call you? Are you the commissioner of the Hall of Pretty Good, or what's your formal title?
I do occasionally like to go by the commissioner, yes.
All right. There you go. The commish.
So I'm glad we can make the connection. And Darren, I wanted to get a chance to talk to you anyway, just because I like to go back and talk about the game. You were one of the most recognizable bullpen guys, and you know it. You didn't get the glory, so to speak, because you were doing the dirty work in the 7th, 8th, and occasionally had some saves. But also the mustache, dude, became signature. When did that become a part of the whole aesthetic and the persona that is Darren O'Day?
The mustache, it created a lot of a buzz in Baltimore. It was Chris Davis and I were good buddies when I was playing there, and we made a pact that we would grow mustaches for picture day in spring training. And, when you can make a choice every spring training, you do picture day, because then the rest of that season, you're going to have a mustache on the Jumbotron if you decide to do that. So I get to picture day, and he had shaved his, and I'm stuck with this goofy mustache. And I wore it, and I wore it proud. Now the update is I still do some broadcasting for the Braves radio network, and we're doing a game at the Bristol Motor Speedway, and I'm going in character as a NASCAR driver. And so that's happening in like 2 weeks. So I've started growing the crumb duster again in preparation for that. So I look proper when I go.
That's 11 out of 10. I can't, Darren. I tried to grow a beard and facial hair.
Yeah.
My fiance hates it, but like when I was hitting well in the minors, I can't shave the beard because that's I'd be killing myself doing that. It's ruining my career. Are you a superstitious guy at all by chance?
A little bit. I'm not crazy like some guys I played with, but if the mustache is playing and I'm pitching good, then I'm going to keep it. 1 year I shaved my head on a whim, and I started pitching the best I'd ever pitched, and then I just continued to shave it because I was pitching too good to go with anything else. So, yeah, there is some superstition in my game for sure.
Do you ever look back at that and maybe like in Baltimore where you really hit the rhythm? People still mimic your movements and talk about you in this area. I know you're with the Braves, but Baltimore still has a ton of love for you here.
Yeah, but I love the city too. Those were the best, most enjoyable years of my career were there in Baltimore. And, I think people really connected to me, because I was better more often than I was, and I got a lot of big outs. And then, Showalter put me in a lot of good situations for that. But and the other thing that I never realized until somebody told me at a local grocery store there was even the casual fans in Baltimore could tell when I was pitching because of the goofy motion. Like immediately, if you had watched 1 or 2 games where I pitched, you're like, oh, I remember that guy, because it's so different. And we were part of that period where we brought a good team back to baseball, Baltimore. It was such a proud baseball history, and they'd been down for so long. And we came along in 2012 and just and started in 11 and continued in 12 and started beating up on the the big dogs of the AL East in Boston and New York. So it was a fun time to be there and a fun time to play. And I treasure those years, certainly.
Yeah, you were pretty lights out, and the trio, you, Brad Brock, Zach Britton, just nails, dude. It was shut down
Yeah.
And I guess in the moment you don't realize how special that is until you move on. And then also you realize, well, damn, we don't have those guys still all involved with the team. And that's throughout all baseball, right? And that's why I said the glory doesn't really happen with relievers, where the closer, if they do well, they get all the credit in the world. When they fail, a lot's on them. For you, it was, if you didn't do your job, you were going to be criticized. If you did your job, well, you were supposed to do that. You were supposed to come in and get that 7th inning hold or 8th inning hold and keep the game where it is. I think we have Bryce back now. Bryce, you back?
Yep.
Okay, so Bryce, I thought this was a good time. Do you have any questions for a member of your inner circle?
Yeah, one question I always wanted to ask a reliever is, how do you deal with, coming back the next night to pitch? Let's say your outing the previous game didn't go too well.
Yeah.
Like, how did you mentally scrub that from your mind in order to have a good outing the next night? Because you're not throwing every 5th day. You're sometimes throwing 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah, that's a great question. And that, to me, in my opinion, is the great separator of the major leagues, is the mental side of the game. There's a lot of guys in AAA or guys that get cups of coffee in the major leagues that are very talented and have great stuff, physically gifted, but they don't have it between the ears. And for me, I think I had a long history of failure in my career and just not being the best guy. So I had learned to struggle. A lot of these first rounders, they zoom through the minor leagues, they get to the major leagues. Oh, you got to learn how to struggle? Like how are you going to do that on the biggest stage in baseball for the first time in your life? So for me, I was lucky. I had a lot of preparation in that in high school and college to know that, once I figured out I was good enough to be there, that helped me get through and rely on my success that I had before, and some good coaches, some really good pitching coaches that helped me out and taught me some mental skills about just letting it go. And at other times just saying, forget it. I don't know what the swearing rules are on here, but
you can say shit, you can say fuck, you can say whatever you want.
Okay,
it's
great. Yeah, sometimes you just got to say fuck it and go for it, and sometimes that's the key to it in baseball, is saying forget all the other stuff. All the other stuff I can't control. All I can control is where I put this pitch, where my mind is, what all I'm thinking about right now, and blocking all that out. So that's a big part of it, because if you absolutely tank an appearance as a middle guy, a setup guy, your food doesn't taste as good. Your wife's not as pretty. You're going to kick your dog when you walk in the door instead of petting it. So you really need to get back out there and get the satisfaction of doing your job. At least that's the way I was.
It's a game where it's already so hard. Even pitching, even though, Darren, pitchers, you guys got, all of it technically in your favor. Having said that, though, if you shatter a bat into a million pieces and that bloops in there and you're sitting there going, are you kidding me? Are you shitting me that ball drops in? Yeah. And then something strange happens and you give up a 2 or 3 spot. And then you got to sit with it. The beauty of a reliever, right, is you get to go back out there and do it again. But the negative part of it is you got to be able to wear the brunt of it every single day, and you're not going to be as fresh. One thing you talked about failure and about the grind. I always like Darren to bring more perspective to it. And I got a chance to live in the minors, grew up with it, obviously, with the Ripken family. But what for you on the mental side? Because when it started to click, you were 25 when you got to the bigs.
Yeah.
But for those that don't understand what that means, because don't take this the wrong way, I thought that you figured out how to maximize your talent, but were you the most talented pitcher in the big leagues?
No.
Probably. You and Paul Skeens right now at their heyday, like maybe the same, right? You and Felix Bautista in Baltimore, same pitcher, right? But you see where I'm going with this. Yeah. You learned how to maximize you, but you had to figure that out on the mental side. Where did that click?
So, again, I had a lot of good coaching in college, and I pitched for 4 years in the SEC against guys swinging a -5 metal bat, 3-4-5, and these are future big leaguers swinging a -5 metal bat. So I learned how to pitch. And I learned how to fail and how to pitch on back-to-back days and move on. And so when I got to the minor leagues, I zoomed through the minor leagues because I only spent a year and a half in, shooting through there. Because as you mentioned, I was 25 when I made it. And those mental skills, like you were talking about, you get a routine double play ball and your shortstop kicks it. Well, early in my career, I probably wasn't as equipped, and I would let it affect me and think, well, that was my way out, or I would blame that guy. And as my career progressed and I learned what was beneficial, I figured out that's nothing I can control. Because sometimes I'm going to throw a pitch down the middle, a terrible backup slider, and Vladdy Guerrero is going to pop it up. So sometimes you're the beneficiary of good luck too. So you got to go with the bad luck. So now when I see a young reliever in the major leagues, I like to watch how he responds to an error by his fielder or a broken bat hit, as you mentioned, or just a silly play. And I like to see if he gets back in the strike zone or if he tries too hard. I love that mental side of baseball. And that's part of the reason I'm still involved in the game is I love watching how these young players respond to adversity and what kind of skills they use to get past that sort of stuff.
Yeah, baseball's such a chess game, right?
Yeah.
You have to continue to watch, understand, and when something doesn't go your way, you also can't panic.
Right.
And that's the other side. And the ones that are very intuitive can tend to stay around for a while. You stayed around for a while, funky delivery and all, but at the end of the day, you got guys out, period. Yeah. That's your job. We got 2 questions and we'll let you go, Darren. Bryce has one more, and then I want to finish up with something a little bit more fun. So, Bryce, what you got?
Yeah, so obviously after Baltimore, which I argue you're most known for your time there, you went and played for the Yankees. And so I always wanted to ask somebody who played for them, did you find the media treated you more harshly there? And as somebody who kind of works on that other side of baseball now with the Braves, do you kind of have more sympathy for media members or for players and how media treats players these days compared to back then when you were playing?
Yeah. Yes and yes. So when I went to New York, you spent a lot of time in spring training with media training. They do quite a bit of time. I would say more time than you do on bunt defenses or stuff like that. They teach you about what's coming and how to handle it and what these journalists are trying to do. And, for a long time in my career, certain times in my career, when you're playing well, you're buddy with a journalist. And when you're struggling or you're hurt, you don't understand that they have a job to do as well. And so sometimes you would avoid them or try not to talk to them or blow them off, whatever. And then, yes, as I don't consider myself part of the media. I'm just a color guy. I talk about what makes the plays exceptional, or I add context to the game. But I have befriended a lot of members of the media. We travel together and talking to them about, it's like, man, I'm trying to get Chris Sale to talk about this. And Chris Sale is the best dude in the world. He just doesn't like talking to the media. And I know the media guy's a great person. He's trying to do a job. He's trying to get Chris to talk about something Chris really doesn't have time for. So yeah, I can sympathize with both sides of it. So yeah, New York's a different beast, but that's what their readers demand and their viewers, their listeners demand in that market. So, as a player, you got to be ready for it. And to be honest, early in my career, I would have struggled with that. Later in my career, I was more prepared for it.
Yeah, especially nowadays, right? Media is bigger than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And I understand guys being close to the vest when you're in the situation and everyone's judging your emotions, your decisions. Are you caring enough? Are you doing the right thing? What answer was that? Darren, I interviewed Eddie Murray about a couple months ago. I've known Big Ed for my whole life, right?
He's the man.
Ed hated the media.
Yep.
And even for me sitting down with me, he's looking at it like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. I'm like, hey, Ed, dude, we're just going to talk. But it's because in the moment, he didn't want it to take away from his job and responsibility. And it wasn't something he was comfortable with. And it's just the day and world that we live in. But it does give more insight when players do describe themselves a little bit more. Charlie Morton, I think, is one of those guys who does it maybe even too much. Where if I'm like, hey, you really want to hear what Charlie's going? You're laughing at that because
Yeah, I do know.
Experience in that because he was just down there. So, you don't see a lot of people like Charlie do that, but that's a part of how baseball is.
Yeah, he's really introspective and reflective. Yeah. Hey, before you hit me with your question, Bryce, I got to tell you a story. So I don't remember exactly which day I got voted in. I was on vacation over the 4th of July. And so I live in Atlanta now. We flew up to Michigan to go to my brother-in-law's lake house, little tiny town, middle of nowhere, Michigan. And he has this friend that lives across the lake. He says, hey, we're having a concert at our house. You guys should come over July 5th. So we take the boat across the lake. We get in the dock. This kid jumps off land to come help us dock up our boat, right? And he's not really paying attention. He just got off his phone. He's kind of bored. And then he ties up our boat, and I walk into the party, and about 30 seconds later, this kid comes running back, and he's like, hey, you're Darren O'Day. You just got elected to the Hall pretty good. And I'm like, how did this kid know? Like, he found out from somebody else, and he's such a big fan of, obscure baseball and what you're doing with your account that he was so excited. I took a picture with him. He was trying to get me to do an acceptance speech. The problem with that is I'd been drinking for like 8 hours at that point. And so the acceptance speech might not have been as good as Hosmer's, but it was so cool. And he knows all the stats. He knows, all the guys, all the war. It was just a cool experience for this kid who I'd never met before. And we talked about baseball for 20 minutes.
Believe it or not, he actually reached out to me and sent me the picture of you two together.
Oh, he did?
And told me about it. Yeah. He's going to freak out when I message him and be like, guess what I just heard?
Yeah.
But that's so cool. And before you go, I seriously just want to thank you for agreeing to do this. This is a huge honor to get to talk to you. I was such a big fan. Oh,
well, man, I did it. Your foresight to create this is pretty cool. I did it a different way. I always appreciated guys that found their own way. And, I did it different than other guys. And your website, your Hall of Pretty Good is a different concept I'd never really thought of. And, you're thinking of all of us guys that can't even get in the grounds at Cooperstown, but, we still get recognized. I've always strived to be pretty good.
Yeah.
You definitely were.
Well, now to close it out then, Darren, I mean, two things, because I just saw it, but are you going into the Hall pretty good as an O, or like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
People ask me that all the time because I went to 2 World Series with the Rangers. I was only there I had 2 really good years there. I was hurt the third. But yeah, all the formative years of my career and the years I'm most proud of were as an O. And so there's no question if I'm going into any kind of hall, except maybe the mess hall, I'm going in as an Oriole.
Hell yeah, man. Well, Darren, last fun thing, and maybe you don't have to have it. We expect maybe down the road you can, if you ever want to do a formal speech for the Hall, pretty good. I think Bryce would always take it.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You're thinking about it, drinking or no drinking, your choice, your call. I got my bottles in here already. I got my tequila, bourbon, and vodka. But one thing you talk about getting it together. Do you have any minor league story? I always ask people this. Do you have any minor league story that jumps off the page to you?
Yeah, I have some good ones. But we had a bus driver in AA that spent some time on the disciplinary list for testing positive for cocaine and methamphetamine. He was the team bus driver, right? And he comes back from his suspension. And gosh, we were in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we persuaded Bussy, is what we called him. That's what you did in the old days. I had no idea what his real name. And Bussy had been struggling a little bit since he'd been subjected to drug tests, and I don't know if his head was in the right place, but we persuaded him to drive us to a sports bar. There was like 12 of us to go watch football. And so we load into the team bus. It's a sleeper bus. It's got these air conditioning units on the top of the bus. And Bussy's driving us to go watch football, and apparently wasn't paying attention to a low-hanging bridge and hammered the bridge at speed with the air conditioning units and peeled the top of the team bus open like a tuna can. I mean, we looked up and you could see the sky. It was like, oh, Bussy. Bussy's already on thin ice, man. This isn't going to be good. Yeah.
Why is it always the bus trips or something on a bus?
Well,
right?
It's because all the wild stuff. I mean, I had some fun times in the major leagues, but all the true deviants in the minor leagues, the guys who are good at football but are flawed baseball, good at baseball but have flawed personalities, usually get weeded out before they get to the major leagues. So if you're around guys like that all day, every day, and they can survive in the minor leagues, man, there's just going to be hilarity that ensues. And also, like, you get yourself, nobody's got social media taking pictures of you or anything. So there's a lot more anonymity in the minor leagues, more latitude to get into trouble.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was in the minors then from 21 to 2014 before.
Yeah.
I got my fair share of moments that I shared quite a few of those as well, but I can't say of my bus trips. I've had a shattered windshield driving through rain with Tim Raines Jr. trying to hold the damn glass in place. We had to quadruple up because they didn't have enough rooms for the players. And, a few other things. Never have I had a bus lose the top on a road trip. So mark that down, Darren. Goodness gracious.
It's always bus. That time when the bus flew open, middle of the night, Montana, middle of nowhere, and everybody's sleeping because it's 4 a.m. and there's not a single street light to be seen. And somebody, I don't know why, wakes up and is like, "Hey, one of the luggage things opened up, and the luggage is just flying out." So we had to get out. We stop, and everybody's waking up like, "What's going on?" They have no idea how far the thing's been open. And there's just luggage strewn across the Black Hills. And it's such a creepy beginning of a horror movie out there, The Children of the Corn. It's like that. It's always bus stuff. You're right, Ryan.
Yeah, it always is. Now, there are some other stories, but we'll leave it at bus for right now.
Yeah,
and maybe, Darren, in the future, I could talk baseball with you all the time, but, today was more of a day of congratulating you on the haul. Pretty good. And Bryce, I'm glad. Thank you for creating this. Darren, thank you for your time. Bryce, any final words before we let your inner circle member go?
I'm honestly speechless. Just thank you to both of you for doing this. This totally made my life. Like, I'm not even kidding. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. Darren, where can people find you and tune in if they're looking for you?
I have a Twitter account. I'll answer it maybe once a month. I'm just not an active social media guy. But I do radio for the Braves, 680 The Fan. There's an app for that if they want to listen to me talk about nonsense for about 2.5 hours a day. We have a good time, and you're going to learn about baseball. You have to have a good time when your team's playing like the Braves are right now. So we go out of our way to make it worth a listen anyways.
Well, hey, tell the Braves thanks for giving a little bit of hope back to Baltimore. Because before that, everyone has had a few negative thoughts about where the team is. So we'll see. But Darren, appreciate you, man. Thank you. And I'll look forward to talking to you soon. All right.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Bryce. See you guys.
Thank you.
Darren O'Day, everybody. Well, if you're new to the channel, everyone, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We do this live every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday right here on YouTube, X, and Facebook. That is Darren O'Day, former Angel, Ranger, Brave, but more importantly, he was a Baltimore Oriole, and he was just elected into the commissioner here, Bryce Whitlow's Hall. Pretty good. Bryce, I'm glad we could make that work. I think it's really cool, and you're hearing that someone that you watched, how cool of a moment still of people reaching out to him. So congratulations for everything you've built, and I think we got a lot more in store that we can keep talking about, all right?
Definitely. And thank you for having me on again. I really appreciate it. This was amazing. Seriously.
Yeah, and I'm glad I got my damn thing figured out because I was like, shit. Well, I'm just going to ruin this entire surprise. But we got it done.